And if you like what this video is about to share with you, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, share, comment, and donate via Western Union or MoneyGram. All right. So I'm going to go into another video. First of all, having a voice is important. Don't forget to express your voice. When you express your voice, people know where you're coming from. And it's at least important for people to be honest, no matter how reprehensible you may sound. That gives everybody a notice about you. And sometimes the ugly has to come out so that things can be healed and remedied. Okay? All right. Now, having said all of that, let me get to the major issue. Politicians in Washington, D.C. are a disgrace. Let me start off with the 126 politicians, the congressmen, who have actually backed a bill, or backed a claim, went to the Supreme Court, which would disenfranchise millions of voters. They're focused on that instead of passing legislation to allow people to get COVID relief financially at this time. They capped that. That's not important. Now, that's what I'm talking about. I'm going to start with the Republican, those guys. They are happy to disenfranchise voters of their vote. They are happy to be obstructionists in a naturally, normally proceeding event. Okay? And they are playing footsie and politics right now. Those people should never be in Washington, D.C. They should never be representing the people of their state. Never. Because they don't have the interest of the country at heart. Right now, the country's focused on financial, more than even the COVID, health problem, which is a crisis as well. But that's kind of sort of out of proportion. People are not working. Businesses have been closed. We all know the Republican Party is based on business and seeing business growth. They're not so much focused on people, they're focused on businesses. So the Republican, but your best interest is to see these businesses thrive, cultivate so they can employ people. What the freaking hell are you doing? Not to mention how idiotic it is, because if that decision is overturned, then you're not going to be in Congress. They'll have to do it all over again, which invalidates your presence in Congress. You have to learn how to lose. And somebody needs to step up and tell the current president of the United States, you lost. Collectively. I don't want to hear about you got a spine or you don't got a spine. I don't want to hear about your political future, because you have none. You have no political future right now. Those 126 people who voted, or I'm sorry, not voted, but signed their names, they are marked. The American people have marked you. And I want the people in the states, especially those territories where those marginal states. I want people in Pennsylvania. I want people in Georgia. I want people in Arizona, etc. I want them to mark these people who represent you in Congress, because you voted for them. You voted for them. Everything has a consequence. And that right now is not democratic. This thing has gone to its completion. It is done. It has been vetted, and it has been vetted completely. These people need to be voted out of Congress in 2022. Get them out of there. Get them out. States, take notice on these people who represent you in Washington, D.C. They're corrupt. Don't elect them back. Get somebody else. It could be from your party, but make sure it's somebody else, somebody, a fresh person, somebody different. Get them, those people, and I'm going to the individuals. I am not going to go talking about the party because I don't want to go there. But those individuals have been marked, and their days are numbered. Their political career is over. And ensure that these people never make it back to the Senate or the Congress ever again. This is the smoke about. Whether it's the left or the right, mark those people and get them out of office. Get them out. Go look at the list of people who voted and write down their names. Write their names down. And I want representatives from the given states, the people to write a petition against them, that they be removed from office as soon as possible for dereliction of their oath to the country and to their given states as representatives of their states. I want the people to rise up. Your voice alone. And I know there are hooligans out there, and I know there are people who are becoming violent, but this is the time to speak. You've been silent too long. It's not just the GOP congressional and senatorial people in Washington, D.C. who have been silent. You have been silent. When America rises up and says, no, you have to be strong on it. This is intolerable. This right here, that one thing they did is intolerable. This is not politics now. Because if they had succeeded, this man would have destroyed democracy, Mr. Donald Trump. It will be no more. And you could talk about voter suppression. You could talk about all kinds of things that the states individually do. That's their choice. They have their laws. Whoever's in power, that's legal. This is not legal. This does not follow the courts or the rule of law. This is unconstitutional. It is outside of the boundaries of what America stands for, and it's illegal. And they have taken undemocratic, anti-democratic actually, and that must be marked. You must mark those people in there and seek to get them out of office. I don't care who you put after them. Once it's a fresh slate of people, their political careers over. They have signed the end of their political careers and ensure that they never get to represent the state ever again. They're out of a job. They're going to have to find something else. They just killed their political careers. It's over. They signed their death. They signed their death warrant, politically speaking. Because no one in Washington, notice, and I heard also there were attorney generals in given states who signed as well. Okay? That's not a political stunt. That's an anti-democratic move. I don't care if you're spineless or not. You just stated your position. And listen, the people need to take that very seriously in the midst of their hesitancy and their negotiations to give financial relief. We're not talking about, I don't even care about the healthcare part, but the financial relief. That is my problem. To both individual peoples and individual businesses. They can't agree on that. And it's not that they can't agree on it. First of all, they made a business an individual. But a business cannot be run unless people run it. It doesn't just go on autopilot. which means to sustain a business, the first foundation of it is to sustain the people who actually conduct the business. So, priority one should have been stimulus checks to homes and families first. It should never have been businesses you think about first. It should have been homes and that's for the Democratic Party to push because, as you can see, their motive is a donkey and service. Whereas the Republicans can't see that, and that's why it's to be a counterbalance where they're only focused on businesses, wealth, prosperity, etc. So they can't see that. So that's why the Democrats are supposed to be able to push that initiative and get the Republicans to see that. Right? The Republican Party is based on business. Everybody knows this. Don't demonize them. That's how they think. The Democratic Party is focused on individuals and service. So don't demonize them when they can't see the business end. Common freaking sense says you guys are supposed to benefit from each other. You're not supposed to be against each other because both of you are blind to the other aspect that the other guy's strong in. That's why you go into the freaking Senate and the Congress and you work together because the Republican Party is supposed to be able to see the business interest and the business mindset, and the Democrat, you're supposed to work together. This is common freaking sense. And reason it out. You're not supposed to be antagonistic towards each other because you're supposed to have enough common sense to understand that you're deficient in one area and the other guy is an expert in that. That was how it was meant to be. A donkey is not considered the smartest guy in the world. And an elephant is considered a smart animal. A donkey is a beast of burden. An elephant is considered wealth, prosperity. Okay? So that's what it was supposed to be. Now we're getting some ass backwards things going on. The Republican Party that's supposed to be about wealth and supposed to have the brain power and the mindset to get the businesses and the economy booming, they're the ones who are behaving like jackasses. Except they're not giving service. They're not giving worse for anything. In the House, they're the obstructionists right now towards a stimulus, a proper stimulus that actually helps to boost the economy because people actually can act and perform. And they have a state of execution. They can make different movements and different ventures forward. If you starve the people, how in the freaking hell are you going to get businesses to work? So I watched a business owner, a restaurant owner in Michigan saying, fuck it, I'm going to keep my business open. Because you're not giving me an alternative. He said if they gave me stimulus checks and they covered my business, we closed down. We shut it down. And we waited out. You guys are in Washington, D.C. Listen, when it comes to the individual states themselves, they're doing a very good job. By and large, Republican or Democrat, they're running under their rules. The clowns are in DC because these clowns, as much as they may profiteer in the states, these clowns deal with lobbyists and big business, and they get big money for making certain votes. And I am disappointed, not only in the Republican Party, but I am disappointed in these 126 individuals who decided to sign on the dotted line and reveal that they don't believe in democracy. They don't believe in the process that has happened. That ultimately is their graveyard. They're not going to be there much longer in the Senate or otherwise. That was foolish. I don't care if you're afraid of the president or not. That's not a stand to take. And there is no evidence you can ever show me to make a stance like that and support it. And that is sad. The senators have been silent. The senators didn't make that move. And now you will be removed, and fresh, younger people need to replace you. You must be replaced. But of course, the difference is you must be replaced democratically because you were elected to that position. Therefore, it is incumbent upon people who voted in those given states that they speak, and as a collective. The referendum cannot happen in DC. It cannot. These people must be marked. They must be marked. And the referendum will have to happen in 2 years' time. And these guys are going to be obstructionists to the process. They are not part of the process. They are anti-democratic. And they must be removed. And new people put on the scene. Why don't we have John Kasich out here? Why can't we have Republicans like him? Why can't we have Republicans in DC who are not corrupted, that take a pledge, an oath, not to be manipulated by special interests? I support Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi stand that $22 trillion should go back into these people. I agree. There should be no concession because it was passed in March. And yes, situations are different, but they're passing huge bulks of money to businesses, and they have money laundered money for people and relief into businesses, into corporations that were their buddies. We're talking billions of dollars. So I don't want to hear shit about you can't get this deal and it has to be 900 something billion-dollar cap. Bullshit. Find that fucking money and pay these people. And it must be either 2.2 trillion or above. The people never benefit from this shit. It's always companies and always something that has very little to do with the people. Nepotism, corruption in Washington, D.C. And it has infiltrated both sides, but more so now, we realize, without a doubt, it has literally brought out anti-democratic values from people who have signed on to this treasonous treaty. And so Americans all around the country, you need to make a united statement against this. The majority of Americans, which is 70% of Americans right now, do not agree with what is going on. It is 30% of Americans, at least in terms of voter statistics, who are behaving like this. Some of them are misled, and some of them know better and are going along with this. And definitely the people who are in power right now, down to Donald Trump, know they have not a leg to stand on, and they know he has lost. So they knowingly are misleading the population to produce a coup, to try to overthrow the government. And he's going to try to continue on with this. And they're going to try to intensify. And a lot of you guys are going to lose your damn lives off of these clowns who are misleading you the wrong way. I say to the American people and even the Trump supporters, because a lot of y'all are so deep into this brainwashing that you're not going to understand what I'm saying. You're brainwashed. All these little facts and stuff of irregularities and it's bullshit. I looked into it. It's bullshit. Okay? They're lying to you. That's why no court in the land has been able to pass anything. And they have done this. They have passed all the shit that they talked about has gone through the courts. All the data and affidavits and all that, it's a lie. I looked into it. All of these voting sites, all of these places where votes were cast, they're filmed. They're on camera. You can always go back to the data and watch them. Some are not released, but the information that has been released, everything is in order. It's bullshit. And you can go back to the factual source and look for yourself. Go and watch it on film. That's where your base of reference will be. You can go and see it for your own damn self. Do you really think any politicians care about the people? Yes, there are politicians who care about the people. Of course. Ocasio-Cortez cares about the people. There are a number of people who have sworn an oath not to be manipulated by special interests. There are people, you see, my friend, the old school with these politicians was to talk a sweet line with you, the older guys, but they can't stay forever. They got to go. The younger generation's coming up. I can't wait for the younger generation of Republicans, not the crazy ones that are under Donald Trump. There are actually good, sensible, smart Republicans, younger people. That's why I said get these people out of there from Washington, D.C. Get them out. They are the swamp. And replace them with younger people. But there's a political process and there's a process to it. I'm not going to tell people to do a coup or just overthrow. No, that's dumb, right? There's due process. But we need to get rid of these people and the old way how they do things so that the younger people can come in. Fresh ideas. Mr. Ossoff, he's a young guy. He's 33 years old. And once he's not contaminated, by Washington, D.C., as he stands, he's going to be an asset. And also the other reverend. But don't let their reputation fool you. It's very caustic up in Washington. And guys cut deals all the time, and that compromises them. So, grassroots fundraising is the way it should be. They need to cap on the amount of special interest or corporate. I mean, businesses have a role to play as well, okay? Because it's a capitalist society. So we expect businesses, if you need funding for running ads, whatever. But I like how Ocasio-Cortez is because she doesn't run her ads based on special interests. It's from the people's grassroots. You can donate. Okay, she has some big donors from some very wealthy people that also contribute to her campaign, but it's not donations from a company, it's donations from actual people who believe in what she's saying. And so it's very important to understand because there are multi-millionaires and multi-billionaires that push money into campaigns, individuals themselves. My thing is, one, they were talking about capping campaign donations. That is a ceiling that used to be there, and then they removed the ceiling. So this is why corporate power and interests have bigger say because they fund so much. And then the politicians have to come back and sort of find a way to pay them back because businesses, they're always about a profit. My thing is, and they get their reps into wherever of your government, which is what's happening with Joe Biden as well. Let's not be naive here, okay? It's going on in front of face. And you can see, if you just go Google a little bit, you'll see that some of these people are compromised that are in Joe Biden's cabinet, and they should never be there. And people need to speak out about those things as well. You see, you got to let no politician off the hook, none. Okay. The point, anyways, I'm not trying to focus on that. There's a real issue right now going on in the United States of America, and the solution and the compromise fails in tremendous comparison to the pressing challenge and crisis that's ahead of America. And these clowns want to be able to just give people little morsels and pellets, and they just have to find a way to work their way through that situation, while they want them to shut down businesses and shut down businesses are going to fall down a lot because people are not going to be always purchasing and moving around and doing things. So this is going to affect business, right? A virus is affecting, it's happening globally, right? And they're trying to encourage people to do a lot of online things, but online things are not guaranteed. They're not things that bring in income on a daily basis. And I, as a small businessman, because I'm a businessman myself, so I understand the business, how important business is. But as a small businessman, I have to go out there and grind. I grind every single day. I gotta go out there and do something. I tighten up on my spending expenditure, and I go out there. I still gotta live though. So, I mean, you have to understand that this is an issue where you're tying people's hands, especially where in the United States of America, you have to be certified as a business owner. You can't just, you could run in your community and do your thing. So that's why I said to people that at present, this government is not for you. They don't understand the urgency of the negotiations that they're doing. They do not understand that every single freaking second they don't come to a decisive decision that substantially helps the community. Because listen, even when Congress or the Senate pass a relief bill, all right, and a stimulus bill for the American people, it's going to take months for that thing to be properly downstreamed. And don't tell me that Washington, D.C. can't pass a $2.2 trillion bill. They did it in March. And I'm pretty sure they can still do it now. People need to have some sort of hope. And they look to the leaders in D.C. because D.C., they pass federal legislation. They're the ones that pass federal relief that can be given to the states. Now, the thing about it is it must go all the way down to the people. Nobody must steal the money, which calls for some ethics and morality, of which we realize that 122 congressmen did not have. They don't have ethics and morality. And they are just a symptom of what Washington, D.C. looks like. Okay? But to clean out all those people and put in a fresh set of people who work by different rules, that takes time. But we can put an X on the people who we know they definitely need to go. And 126 of those people need to go. They need to go. So they're spending every day, they're spending too much time in the Congress, in the Senate. They just need to go. They killed their political careers. Get them out of there. So that much we do know, because they're not interested in COVID relief. They're not interested, especially economic COVID relief. They're not interested in that right now. They're interested in their political careers, period, which unfortunately for them is over. Now, with respect to the other people, if you want me to, I will read out their names so that everybody knows who they are and what state they're from. Now, they need to be gotten rid of. And the only way people are really going to understand is when the American people open their voice and the majority of them start speaking out. You have to speak out. You need to sign petitions and sign up stuff to say these guys do not represent us. And it has to be bilateral. It needs to be from Republican people and from Democratic people. I've seen a congressman. He He retired from the Republican Party, but we need you, Congressman, as a Republican congressman. That's what you should have been. You should still stay there. You're not the one that should leave. He's not the one that should leave. He should have petitioned a protest, and he should have sent it back down to his state. You're a representative of a state. You have power to let your state know what's really going on. Don't be an independent. Don't leave the Republican Party. We need if you leave the Republican Party, that's one less good guy that left the party. No, you have to stay there. Let them kick you out. Let them reject you. You stay there and you press the issue because you represent what a Republican is. And so, because you respect the democratic process. So he should not have left. But he says he's an independent now. But listen, it's not about that. The Republican Party has people, it's just not speaking up. They got to speak up. You can't just let one side speak. You have to open your mouth and speak up and say, I don't agree with this. You have to start challenging things which are false and fallacious. You have to stand out. I try to explain to people, and I've been saying it for years now, you cannot stay in the shadows. You cannot be silent now. You must, your voice, this is how the internet is designed. Your voice will be heard. You must stand up and speak. They will listen. They will act on what you do. And the other thing is, you got to love one another and you got to help out one another. You know what would have been really nice if legislator or legal aides from the different states came together and they supported the marginal states, that where the swing states, where they say we come together as the Republican caucus and we support and endorse the election results. And now let's get on to the business of dealing with this COVID. Donald Trump is only as powerful as you give him power, as with any representative of the people. You're afraid of Donald Trump's base. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Donald Trump's base and people who think like him only get power because you endorse him. You fools. He only has power. The facts are on your side. And this is a time where when the facts are there, you support the frickin' facts. It's so simple. This is not given up to opinion anymore. It is not what your electorate thinks anymore. These are factual things that are happening. And the only thing you have to do, representing the people for which they have put you there so that you can handle their affairs, is simply to state the damn facts. Aside from that, all of the representatives of states where there were close election races and these representatives of different areas of the states were elected, you have a responsibility to all of the people of your state, not just the people who've elected you. It was a race. You won it. Now you have the responsibility of all the people of your state. So if you just have a one-sided opinion that's non-factual, that you're backing because a certain amount of the electorate of your state, a certain percentage of the electorate of your state voted for you, then you have a problem. Because you're supposed to represent your entire state and you're supposed to be the person. Because if your state, for example, upholds Your state ended up upholding the decision that Joe Biden won that state, for example. Your state did that. Who are you to oppose the decision of your state? If your state has it's gone through due process, and you now, as a representative of that, an extension representative of that, decide to disagree with it, who are you? Where is your evidence? You have to at least have some sort of evidence to disagree with it. And don't tell me it's coming. You should be able to give that evidence in one sentence, because everything has been done, due process has been handled, the issue has been dealt with, and it has been adjudicated. So an adjudicated issue which has come to a verdict is not something no longer that is of opinion. It is a fact. So from there, you must go with the factual evidence and not your opinion or the opinion of some people who appointed you. So in every single sense of the word, these people should have either stayed silent, which was dumb too, because the process has already reached its completion. They were supposed to do their duty as elected members of Congress and the Senate and say, this is the verdict of the courts. This is the verdict of the Supreme Court. This is the verdict of the given states in terms of the electors who cast their votes. We therefore go with that, because that is factual information. That's all they needed to do. And the entire Washington, D.C. would have been in alignment with the given states and their verdicts, and that would have been that. Whether the public wanted to be, certain members of the public wanted to be outraged over that, that's their business. And they could say, we'll never elect you again in the next 2 years. And you'd be like, dude, this is a democratic process. And what would have happened was the majority of Americans would have scored points on them, because they're so stupid. They're only thinking about the base, their base. But you stupid politicians, the majority of Americans would have supported you. 70% of the American population would have supported you, you dumb, stupid idiots. But you're so interested in preserving your career, you just ended it. You just ended your career, because there's no going back from them. There's no backtracking. You are undemocratic. That's what you say. I'm so interested in my interests that the Rome can burn once I'm okay. You don't give a damn about the troops. You don't give a damn about Thanksgiving. You don't give a damn about when they landed on Plymouth Rock. You only give a damn for yourself. You selfish son of a bitch. And so what they need to do, and Americans should look at you with scorn. They should look at you with scorn. You don't belong here. You know, they always talk about getting the Mexicans out of here, people going back to you need to be kicked out of America. You're not American. You don't give a damn about America. You and Donald Trump, y'all need to get kicked out of the United States of America. Go to Russia. Go to China. Go to a country that doesn't have democracy. You don't belong in America. And they need to be hard on them. And they need to shame them. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame them. Everywhere they go, shame them. Let them know that they're marked. Let them know how nasty and dirty. This is the swamp. This is what we're talking about. This is what Donald Trump came in to clean. This is what Barack Obama came in to clean. This. Because this is what leads to a coup. This is what leads to democracy ending. This is what leads to dictatorships. Greedy, selfish, disgusting people who don't care about the nation. They only care about themselves and their pockets. Selfish, greedy people. We've seen it in Star Wars. We saw how the Republic was overthrown and became an empire. Greedy, selfish people. Elected to power for their own political gain. Mark them. Don't let them live this down. Their names etched on a piece of paper to subvert democracy. And there's no way in hell that there was widespread fraud that 7 million people, 7 million, if there was widespread fraud like that, 7 million people, oh, come on now. We'd have seen it. Some evidence of it would have shown up. That's why for 7 million people to go unnoticed, come on, man. Courts would have, come on, man. You serious? Common sense. But of course, I don't blame the people who are brainwashed under Donald Trump. I blame the engine. The people who enabled Donald Trump to be able to get this far. Those 126 signatures. Those 126 signatures. They know better. Corrupt. I can't say I blame Fox because there are certain people on Fox who narrate the news and they don't believe the shit that they seen happening. While they agree on certain policies and so on, they don't agree on that. So I can't say Fox in a whole, but there's a good chunk of shit on Fox. Assholes like Lou Dobbs. He's an asshole. But it's freedom of speech. He's not in a political power. Of course, there's accountability, but there's freedom of speech. And I will not, for the life of me, I will not quell his freedom to say whatever he wants to say. That's okay. Once he's not inciting violence, then he's free to say whatever the hell he wants to say. Because that's what free press is. That's a part of democracy. My opinion of him is irrelevant. He's free to say whatever he wants to say. That's the beauty of America and democracy. What is not beautiful is seeing people who represent the people in Washington, D.C. This nonsense is not happening in the given states. There are certain people trying to come together, but the courts are kicking that shit out. Just get that fuck out of my court. Sorry about the you know. But when it comes to Washington, D.C., and you wonder why the American people don't have confidence in Washington, D.C. It's because of guys like this, people like that. I got one more thing to say because I'm not just here to talk about politics. I'm here to talk about boxing. And losing happens. It happens. All of us have lost something in our daily lives. It's a part of life. It happens. It happens. Felix Verdale, he got stopped by Nakatani. Right? It happens. You know what I saw people, I call them haters. I know what I saw people on Facebook saying, oh, Felix Verdale is overhyped. His career's over. And blah. I'm like, man, you really serious? Are you really going to be serious? Nakatani always been a tough competitor. Didn't we see Nakatani make Teofimo Lopez look bad? He's long, he's rangy, he has that overhand right. He has a very good jab on which he knocked down. He was breaking down Felix Verdale later on. People, man, Losing happens. It happens. It's boxing. It's boxing. Somebody's got to lose. Just because Felix Verdela was highly touted doesn't mean he was immune to losing. It happens. J Rock's an excellent boxer. He's lost twice. He's lost. It happens. I don't say exclusive statements like, well, all the greats, they lost. That's bullshit. All the greats did not lose. And you're not going in there to lose. But any boxer will tell you, when you get into that square circle, anything can happen. You could die in there. You can die in there. So that's why you can't cheat boxing. You have to get ready for any particular situation. Anything can happen in there. And there are boxers who have a mentality, you got to kill me to beat me. Y'all don't understand. This is serious. It's like going to war. And you got a mindset, you've got to kill me to beat me. Because I'm going to do everything in my power to win. That's legal. Right? It's real. It's hand-to-hand combat, man. This ain't no freaking game. It doesn't matter how good you are. You could lose on any given day. You can lose and lose bad. You can get knocked out. That's why I try to explain to you guys. These guys at the highest level, when you see them not getting knocked out, it's such a fine line. But these guys, they've done it over and over and over again. They know how to walk that. I remember Tony Harrison, facing J Rock. No, not J Rock. Jamel Charlo Bell. Beating his ass on the inside and the outside. Got dropped early though. But he was beating him. And he got caught trading hooks. I think Fernando Vargas versus Tito Trinidad, to go way back into time for a minute. Fernando Vargas got dropped early, recovered, and was boxing the shit out of Tito. He was boxing him, and he decided to trade hooks, and he got knocked down again. Went on to recoup, kept on boxing Tito, because Tito's not the greatest boxer in the world. For those of you who don't know, got a good jab, but you can work around him with pivot work. Control range, and control him with your jab, even if you have a shorter jab, because it's about angles. So he was boxing the shit out of him, got confident, decided again to try and throw his left hook with his right hand, and he got caught. That's how he lost the fight. He did a lot of things good. Listen to me, because boxing's about learning. He did a lot of things good. But the one thing he didn't do good is what cost him. Trading hooks. They always tell you don't hook with a hooker. He thought he was a better hooker than Tito. And he kept on doing it over and over again. He probably was on autopilot, but that boy could box. Be smart. He understood that. He lost. Does that mean that he wasn't a legendary fighter and one day won't go down in the Boxing Hall of Fame? No. It happens in boxing, but you got to learn from it. Felix Verdela was dominating early Nakatani. Was dominating him. As in all Nakatani fights, Nakatani, he grits his teeth, he puts it up, and he keeps coming. But he's not just keeping coming. He's not just going to do the same thing. He makes an adjustment. Nakatani to Felix Verdela. Did you guys see that? All you saw was, he came back. And Felix Verdela, he didn't have stamina. And no, he made an adjustment to Felix Verdela. He was smart enough to understand what Felix Verdela was doing. And he adjusted his range just enough. And he started pursuing him at the end of his punches. And he was beating him up. And another thing that people don't understand, and again, this has to do with conditioning, how you prepare yourself. So different fighters take punches different ways. Felix Verdeo made the mistake of covering up and taking the punches, but he wasn't riding the punches. You got to ride the punches to take some of the steam off of them. And he had such a rigid high guard. You got to, again, these, oh man, boxing is such a technical thing in a way at the highest level. Guys don't ever keep their guard stiff. When you keep it stiff, they can work around your guard. You heard Jamal Charlo talk about this. So you keep your guard too stiff. Now, not only are you not riding the punch, but you're also taking that punch and it's transmitting through your body. So when you were trying to protect and block your head, you're still taking the blow, the full brunt of the blow on your head. It's just that you have an extension of it. That's why they say you ride it, you catch it, you pick it, right? And your hand has to be relaxed. So watch at Canelo how he does it. It's a timing thing. That's why we say timing beats speed. Gotta break it down for you guys because it is what it is. But anyway, so he was keeping his hands too stiff. That was another thing he was doing wrong. He misjudged and miscalculated range a lot. And he started to tire because his conditioning wasn't, he was getting guys out of there early. He wasn't going full 12 rounds. That was his full learning experience. Nakatani was a very good test for him. He didn't pass it, but it's not over. He's young. He needs to recoup. They need to check to see if his brain got any serious brain damage of any kind, which more than likely not, because I'm sure he's been put on his ass in sparring and all of that stuff. And he can keep it going, but he's got to make some tweaks and adjustments to his defense, and he has to work on his conditioning. Does he still have a very vibrant future? Hell yeah. This is a learning experience. I remember Tevin Farmer. He got knocked out by I forgot what the guy's name is. He learned from it. It's a learning experience. Yeah, Felix Verdeo, he's much older than some of the other guys, but he's a promising kid and he still's got promise. You see, boxing's a sport where you learn from things. I told you all about J-Rock. He came back and became undisputed champion after being knocked out by Jamel Charlo. And recently he got again knocked out by Jason Rosario. Again, his conditioning wasn't the best to deal with that situation. He should have taken that as serious as he took Jarrett Hurd. And maybe he did, but maybe mentally he didn't. Jamel Charlo is elite because Jamel Charlo don't take nothing for chance. Stays in shape all the time. Is working out all the time. Building strength and conditioning all the time. He only getting stronger. The top guys, they don't play. While I'm talking to you, they're training. Or they're doing something that has to do with their boxing. Besides their business acumen and other things they're doing. The best don't be the best just like that, folks. And Danny Garcia is one of the best out there. He's one of the best. And it's not just because he's tough and well conditioned. He also got a really great boxing IQ. He can do so many different things. But he has been doing counterpunching so much of late that he sort of didn't work on those other aspects of his game. And so when he did for this training camp, he still didn't have the full confidence. He was still probing with it against Errol Spence. He was probably doing it many times in sparring in the gym. But at the highest level with the gloves that they have on, he still didn't quite have it right. And he's going to work on it. And I'm going to say this. Danny Garcia is going to become world champion again. Watching, you'll see. May not be for very long, but he will become world champion again. And to Danny Garcia, let me say, brother, you had the right idea. You just didn't follow through with it all the time because you didn't have confidence in it. While you were facing this particular opponent who brought particular challenges to the table with you. But you're on the right course. You have the right idea. The problem with it is executing it to its fullest. And you got to do something about figuring out how to get past the jab, I would suggest to you face Mauricio Herrera whenever you get a chance. Or get him on board. Get him as a sparring partner. Get him in your gym. Call up Mauricio. Apologize for not giving him a rematch and get that sucker in the gym. Get him paid if he wants to. Because Mauricio Herrera was the obstacle you never passed. They gave you a pass on him as a tough fight. And you never made the adjustments necessary. You never faced a fighter who had a really good jab for you to deal with. So when you had to deal with a guy who was a southpaw who had a really good jab, you still wasn't confident about how to approach him. Even though you had everything, I could see it. I remember when you bobbed underneath the punch, you was in position to throw the left hook and you just didn't throw it. You thought the distance was too far away. Sometimes you just got to throw it. So, I looked at how you were rolling and oh man, you was just you have so much skill, Danny Garcia. So much skill. But as I said, your father needs some assistance in getting you to get to that point. But again, it doesn't happen overnight. You'll need a couple more fights. You need to fight a couple more fighters and be able to execute those things. You need more in-ring experience, not so much the sparring, but in-ring experience executing those things. So that when you get to guys with a higher level, just a couple fights, maybe 2, to get that confidence that, this does work. This does execute. You need relatively very good opponents too. You need good opposition. You can't just be counterpunching, brother. You got to set it up. And sometimes you got to be active. That's what Mayweather used to do. You got almost all the tools that Mayweather has. The problem with you is you don't always go get a guy. And Mayweather used to go get you. If you made one step backwards, I'm going to go get you. He did all that. But you got it. You got everything. And you keep it so simple and basic. And I love your defense. It's beautiful. So you step around guys easy and everything. So Danny Garcia, people don't understand. They still underappreciate Danny. And they say, he's not one of the top guys. 3 top guys in a row he lost to. So what? So what? Listen, people. He don't want to lose to them, obviously. But it doesn't mean he can't come back and become world champion. It doesn't mean he can't beat those guys in a rematch. But he has to work on his game first to get confidence in what he's doing. And he can do it. We know it's a race, and we know these guys are very elite fighters, and we know, if you're a step behind, and especially when you get beat by an elite fighter, it's difficult to beat them. But it's possible. Anything's possible in boxing. Anything is possible in boxing. And who knows what will happen if Errol Spence, for example, leaves the division. Now it changes the landscape. You just never know. You never know if Danny and Errol might meet again at 154 or 160. They may meet up again. So we cannot, especially Danny's a great fighter. We cannot rule out Danny Garcia. Losing is not the end of the world. And we all know this. We've lost things sometimes on a daily basis. We lost out. We get back up again. Donald Trump, one thing we see is his resiliency. He's not quitting. The only difference is Donald. Shout out to Donald Trump. The only thing is you got to know the time and place when to call it a day, reset, and then go again. You got to know to switch it off. Understand, I don't need to push. I can conserve some of my energy and push at the right time. Okay, so we lost this battle, but we got another one we can face. We didn't lose the war. You got to understand when it's not expedient to do certain things. He's not going to quit. He's going to go all the way to January 20th, and even after that, he's going to still try to frustrate the process, which is stupid. And he's a marked man already. So losing happens. We don't want to lose. Nobody wants to lose. Nobody wants to lose. If everybody could have Mayweather's 50-0 record, everybody would go for it. but it comes at a price. Sacrifice, preparation, hard work, and dedication. It don't just come like that. So when I hear people say, well, Manny Pacquiao is he's a 8 division champion. Mayweather didn't do that. I'll look at him like, fuck you. Mayweather's a whole different sphere of fighter than Manny Pacquiao. Ain't nobody in the history of boxing beat everybody, won all their fights, and everybody, I'm talking about everybody at the top level, the very highest level, the number one guys. He beat all the number one guys out there. All the number one guys. That was in his era at the time. He beat all of them in all 5 divisions. I'll be serious with you. The number one super welterweight, let's start with the highest weight class. The number one super welterweights in the world were Canelo Alvarez and Miguel Cotto. Oscar De La Hoya was in the top 3. We'll leave him out. He beat those 2 guys. Then, at welterweight, he beat the number one guy 3 times. Shane Mosley, Carlos Baldomir, and Manny Pacquiao. Those were the number one guys. Pacquiao was the number one contender. That's why I say number one guy. He was the number one guy. Floyd was the number one. When you know number one, you got to fight the number one contender, right? At super lightweight, he fought the number 2 guy in Arturo Gatti, but while he was at welterweight, he faced Ricky Hatton, the number 1 super lightweight in the world, or junior welterweight. We go down to lightweight. He faced the number 1 lightweight in the world, Jose Luis Castillo. Jose Luis Castillo. At super featherweight, he faced the number 1 super featherweight in the world twice, Diego Corrales and Gennaro Hernandez. So it's really, really stupid when people say, oh, anybody could do that, 50-0. Anybody can't do that. Anybody can't just do that. Oh, Julio Cesar Chavez was on a longer winning streak. Yeah, but he didn't fight back to back. 15 world champions. Former, present, and future. He never did that. He always had a stay busy fight somewhere in between. None of them have ever done that. No draws, no contests, no losses. He beat them. And I don't want to hear about undefeated. Who gives a damn about that? He beat them. He was a W man. He was a he was the dub man. He beat them. It wasn't about draws. It wasn't, don't tell me about undefeated. This dude beat them. Tell me about beating people. Okay? That's what he did. That's goddamn difficult to do. Nobody's ever done it in the history of boxing. Nobody. 26 consecutive championship fights. Undefeated. The only fighter in the history of boxing to do that. Remain undefeated after those fights. He retired undefeated after 26, listen to me carefully now, 26 consecutive championship fights. Never lost a championship fight. Only won. That's crazy. The only 2 people who have matched that, but they didn't retire undefeated, Joe Louis and Cecilia Braekhus. Okay? That's what was in that 50 fights. That's ridiculous. That's more than half your fights were championship fights. And you didn't just fight bums and come out, a champion. No. He fought the very best of his era and beat all of them. There ain't nobody better than these guys I just mentioned. Miga Cotto was the best 154 pounder of Floyd Mayweather's era, as was Canelo. Canelo is currently still the best in the world. Some people argue he's pound for pound number one. You don't get better than that. He was at the time the number one super welterweight in the world. Floyd was a lineal champion.